the Byzantine generals and trust. What in the world is a Byzantine general, and what's that got to do with cryptocurrency? Actually, it's got a ton of things to do with cryptocurrency, because it really is the core and this thing called trust. Cryptocurrency is a trustless system, which is kind of a strange term. Trustless in the aspect of you can trust it because trust isn't necessary part of the component. Blockchain means you don't need a sense of trust to complete a transaction. What happens in the transaction, you create a block of data. Okay, the data is part of a long series of transactions. So you create this transaction. The transaction is placed inside of a block of data. The data is then attached to a block, a series of chain, okay, of other blocks just like it. And once it's approved on a basis called consensus, it now becomes an integral part of the chain. And then another block is then sit down, reviewed, and added to the chain, and another block, and so on. And so you have this chain of blocks, which they call it blockchain. That seems to make sense. So your block on the data that you execute when you execute a trade in cryptocurrency becomes part of the whole aspect of all the different history of blockchain, and it becomes encoded in a series of blockchains. And the reality is you don't need to trust anybody. There's no broker involved. There's no person, there's no bank involved. There's no lawyers involved. There's not even a CPA involved. It's a matter of you get to execute something in the process. You may have a fee, and when you have a fee in trading cryptocurrency, we call it gas. Believe it or not, there's a lot of odd terms in this whole world of crypto. You'll see some of them are outrageously funny and humorous and disrespectful, or whatever you want to say. But the reality of it comes down to it's crypto. That's the world that we're in. So you'll see that, but you don't need to have trust in the system. It's not needed. And the program's well written. Often lawyers are not needed. Okay, so it's a ledger system, and you don't even need accountants to man this ledger. So a lot of times when you have a ledger, you automatically think that you have to sit down and have an accountant go through and approve and put the entry logs in it. Not so with blockchain. Blockchain eliminates the need because it has a decentralized system, which is good and bad at the same time. By decentralized, okay, the issue comes down to the Byzantine generals. Can you trust the other people out there to sit down and be loyal and faithful to execute and do the things they've said they're going to do? This is called the Byzantine general problem. So on a decentralized system based, the Byzantine generals, are they reliable? Can you trust them? They have their own armies backing them up, and you all want to work basically to attack one common enemy or one common goal. So you have different generals, they're all out there. How do you get them without a central authority figure to all do the same thing? You don't necessarily, you're not a king, okay, so you can't command them to do it. So what about the group over here and the group over here? Can you trust these people to do the things they say they're going to do? Well, some people you can, and some people you can't. So how do you solve that problem? So that's what this comes. So in a traditional financial system, the banks are trusted to show their clients their balance and transaction histories in an honest manner. If they attempt to lie or defraud a customer, you can always have a central bank or the government reach in and fix that breach of trust. Sometimes the governments are so corrupt that they can't even do that. So of all things, now one of the best things about being in the United States is the fact that we may have a flawed systems and lots of flawed things happening over here, but we probably have one of the best legal systems on planet Earth. But I reserve the right to make fun of lawyers until the day that I die, because that is sometimes they need to have that. But the reality is our legal system here in the United States, we can have binding contracts as one of the big parts of our freedom that we actually have in our country. But regardless, okay, on the centralized and decentralized system, you don't have a central authority here. So the Byzantine general problem really is that you need to make certain that you can attack a fortress and everybody does the same thing. Everybody has the same goal in mind. Now, here's an example. A number of generals are attacking a fortress. They all have their own personal armies. They have to decide as a group whether to attack or retreat. Some generals may prefer to attack, others prefer to retreat. Okay, so the important thing is that they all agree on a common decision. Either they all retreat or they all attack. A half-hearted attack would become a rout. Okay, a half-hearted attack by a few and the rest leave would be worse. So you have this problem over here. You have an uncoordinated attack. You don't know if you can trust the person next to you. You're going to execute a transaction and add it to the blockchain, but you don't know if you can trust that person over there or the person over there. That one you think you can trust, you're not certain. And the one behind you, you better trust them because they may stab you in the back if you don't. So do you have everybody doing the same thing? You might have a problem. There could be treacherous generals. Here's an example. There's 9 generals. For support, let's all go and attack. 4 says, I would prefer to retreat. And one of them is going to vote to retreat for those that want to retreat, and also vote for those that want to attack, and just sit back and watch what happens. Okay, by the way, in the regular corporate world, that happens on a regular basis. Anyway, so those who receive a retreat vote, they retreat, the rest attack. Therefore, everybody fails in the process, except for the ones that retreated. They get to pick up all the pieces by the time it's all done. That's the problem of a decentralized system. Except here, you have something totally different. By having a decentralized system with no coordinated person in the middle, on blockchain, it eliminates the Byzantine general problem. The aspect of trust, I don't need to trust anybody else. What I need to do is, it's called the Nakamoto consensus. It means that we're going to verify the authenticity of the blockchain network to prevent what we call double spending. Here you have a case of everybody leading forward to doing the same thing. In other words, by double spending, I don't write a check and I give it to this person over here, and then I go to somebody else and I take a copy of that same check number and I write the same check number for a different amount to this person over here. I have 2 checks going out. And typically what would happen is the bank would put a hold on the money I have in my account until they have the opportunity to clear that check. Okay, but in the meantime, I wrote a check with the same check number to somebody else, and the bank doesn't know that. So all of a sudden 2 checks are going out, taking all the money out of my account twice. The double check spending, the double spending is a problem, which is what the Nakamoto consensus does. It's a Byzantine fault-tolerant consensus algorithm, and it's called proof of work. With Bitcoin, what happens is people go mining and they have a complex algorithm that the computers are solving. And when they solve it, that's called mining. They have machines that actually go through and they work on it. You can actually technically do this on your home computer, except nowadays, the computers have evolved so much in the process that they're constantly mining, and they're cranking out things. The reward they have for solving the algorithm is a Bitcoin. Okay, that is the reward. It's called proof of work. Proof of work, POW, see the notation here on the slide, that shows that they have earned something, and here is the proof of their work. They're awarded a Bitcoin. That Bitcoin then is carved into the blockchain that person owns that Bitcoin. And it's not a matter of another person can earn it. That person has now earned it and it's out there. It gets added to the blockchain. People verify that it's there, and then it becomes an official part of that blockchain and becomes an irreversible transaction. You eliminate that whole aspect of the Byzantine generals because you have a Nakamoto consensus. So a proof of work, by the time it's all done, it's a cryptographic mechanism where miners compete against one another. They solve a complex computational puzzle and they get an award out of that. And the block reward that they get is that piece, the next block added to the crypto chain, awarding them a Bitcoin. It's a monetary incentive that they have, and it's all verified on consensus by all the other computers around the world that are part of the entire net of blockchain. Consensus, it's really the core of it, and it really is the best thing. It's called proof of work that we have. Now, that being said, have there been hacks in the cryptocurrency chain? Actually, there have been in different ones because there's 12,000 out there, but the one that's really been almost impervious has been Bitcoin itself. It uses a proof of work application to it. It's been well written and is very solid. And it's the cornerstone really of really the entire cryptocurrency. It's almost 40% of the entire market share. We'll talk about that at a later date. But cryptocurrency and blockchain, cryptocurrency, and they're tied together, and you have different issues. It is called a trustless system because of the fact that it's Bitcoin itself has never been hacked. There's zero the counterfeit currencies out there with Bitcoin. So you have that. It's called proof of work. And there's a couple other kind of proofs. There's really, it's called proof of stake. You'll see the notation on the top of this slide. So POW is proof of work. POS is proof of stake. And later on, we'll talk about delegated proof of stake. So keep those numbers in mind. But keep in mind, first of all, that of all things, Bitcoin itself and cryptocurrencies are built on blockchains. And it really is part of the overall aspect of proof of work has been around and has been very stable in the aspect of producing good, solid Bitcoin. So we'll talk about what Bitcoin is and some of the other currencies, and also proof of stake and distributed delegated proof of stake at a later date. With that, I will see you soon. Take care.